Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. Li Hongzhang was undoubtedly one of the most visionary figures in the late Qing dynasty. Although he held high office, Empress Dowager Cixi never truly regarded him as the pillar of the nation, otherwise she would not have diverted the funds allocated for the Beiyang fleet to finance her own birthday celebrations. According to historical records, in 1896, Li Hongzhang, who had already retired from official duties, was once again appointed as a special envoy by the Imperial court to visit 8 countries: Russia, Germany, Britain, France, the Netherlands, Belgium, the United States, and Canada. This journey was practically a grand relocation. In addition to his accompanying officials and servants, he brought along his own chef, various food ingredients, snow water preserved in clay jars, several cages of birds, egg-laying hens, and even a Nanmu wood coffin. To foreigners, Li Hongzhang exuded an extraordinary sense of dignity and authority. Having served as the governor of Zhili for 25 years, Westerners respectfully addressed him as Governor Li. On March 30, 1896, Governor Li departed from Yuzhangkou, Shanghai, aboard a Qing dynasty postal steamer. His first stop was Russia, a vast and enigmatic land, like a real-life winter fairy tale. Snow blanketed the ground, and every building was draped in a pristine white coat, awaiting the arrival of this distinguished guest. A Russian army marshal personally led a delegation of civil and military officials to welcome Governor Li aboard. Upon reaching the shore, Russian ceremonial officials presented him with salt, symbolizing preciousness, and bread, representing prosperity, a gesture of the highest honor. In St. Petersburg, both officials and civilians lined the streets to welcome Governor Li. He stayed at the private residence of a wealthy Russian, Baron Baranov. Along his route, 24 young boys scattered flowers, while Qing dynasty yellow dragon flags hung high. Inside, the rooms were adorned with dazzling floral arrangements, creating a dreamlike scene. His bedroom was furnished entirely with Chinese furniture and objects, giving the illusion of being back in his homeland. Before long, Tsar Nicholas II and the Empress received Governor Li at the Imperial Palace. A grand escort of a 5-horse golden carriage was specially arranged for him, accompanied by an honor guard and a military band, making for an exceptionally grand ceremony. On May 14, Russia held the coronation ceremony for Nicholas II. As a distinguished guest, Governor Li was invited to witness this historic moment, becoming the center of attention. Though the occasion was glorious, he was well aware that the Russians sought to gain leverage in negotiations over the issue of land leasing for railway construction. As expected, during subsequent talks, the Russians applied intense pressure, ultimately leading to the signing of the Sino-Russian Secret Treaty, which later paved the way for Russia's construction of the Far East Railway and the occupation of Lushuan and Dalian. Second stop, Germany, a military powerhouse. On June 13, Li Hongzhang arrived in Germany by train and received an enthusiastic welcome. After all, at the time, the Qing dynasty was a significant buyer of German military equipment, and Germany saw this as an opportunity to expand its market. The next day, Li Hongzhang formally met with Emperor Wilhelm II, presented his credentials, delivered congratulatory remarks, and was invited to a state banquet. He also visited the German military and was deeply impressed by their advanced weaponry. Unable to hide his admiration, he marveled at Germany's formidable military strength. On June 25, Li Hongzhang made a special trip to Hamburg to visit the once dominant statesman of Europe, Iron Chancellor Otto von Bismarck. By then, Bismarck had long been dismissed from office and was living as a civilian, leisurely tending to his garden, far removed from the political storms of his past. Despite their vastly different positions and statuses, Li Hongzhang still held great respect for Bismarck. He humbly sought advice on state governance. Listening intently, Bismarck responded with profound words. "Governor, you underestimate your own abilities. A politician must be modest, but even more importantly, he must be firm and confident." During his time in Germany, Li Hongzhang also personally experienced one of the most cutting-edge technologies of the time, X-ray examinations. He used X-rays to examine an old gunshot wound on his body, gaining first-hand insight into Germany's scientific, military, and industrial advancements. Yet, when he thought of the corruption, internal strife, and weakness plaguing the Qing dynasty, he could not help but sigh deeply. Though his heart longed to serve his country, age had rendered him powerless to change its fate. Third stop, the land of windmills, the Netherlands. On July 4, Li Hongzhang traveled by train from Germany to the Netherlands. The moment he set foot on Dutch soil, he received a grand royal welcome. A grand procession of carriages moved through the streets, creating a truly spectacular scene. The Netherlands, a country surrounded by vast tulip fields and an intricate network of canals, is most renowned for its iconic windmills, scattered across the open fields. These windmills spin leisurely in the breeze, symbolizing the wisdom of the Dutch people and embodying a perfect fusion of history and modernity. Strolling through this landscape feels like stepping into a moving painting, where technology and romance achieve a remarkable balance. On the evening of July 5, Li Hongzhang attended a welcoming banquet at the Kurhaus Hotel. The grand event was illuminated with dazzling lights, and the hall was filled with distinguished guests, melodious music, and lively conversations. Enthralled by the atmosphere, Li Hongzhang composed an impromptu poem. "For 50 years, I have served in the imperial court. Now I journey afar, like an immortal abroad. A grand feast with music and joy we share. 1,000-year lantern glows, spreading fortune's word." The poem left a lasting impression, and in jest, the hotel later became known as the Li Hongzhang Hotel. Meanwhile, the Dutch government specially published a Dutch translation of the Analects of Confucius, hoping to introduce Confucian wisdom to the Western world. This demonstrated that Dutch interest in Chinese culture extended far beyond mere diplomatic courtesies. On July 6, Li Hongzhang visited the royal palace, where he was received by the Dutch regent and the 16-year-old Queen Wilhelmina. As a mark of deep respect, he was awarded the Netherlands' highest honor, the Grand Cross of the Order of Orange-Nassau. Fourth stop, Belgium, intense discussions and a precious gift. On July 8, Governor Li set foot in Brussels, the capital of Belgium. The very next day, he entered the royal palace for a formal visit with King Leopold II. The two prominent figures engaged in an animated discussion, focusing primarily on the construction plan for the Luhan Railway. The atmosphere was electric, as if they were already envisioning the grand blueprint of a future railway network. Following this, Governor Li was invited to observe a Belgian military exercise and tour a local arsenal. The sophisticated weaponry on display deeply impressed him, and he repeatedly praised the craftsmanship and advanced technology. Moved by the visit of this distinguished guest from the East, the director of the arsenal made a remarkable gesture. He offered to gift a cannon to China. This promise was fulfilled, and the cannon was later shipped to Beijing, serving as a treasured memento of the visit. Fifth stop, France, diplomatic chess in a romantic nation. From Belgium, Governor Li and his delegation proceeded to France, a nation brimming with romance and artistic flair. The streets of France exuded a charm where classical heritage and modern trends intertwined, the artistic treasures of the Louvre, the fashionable buzz of the Champs-Élysées, and the rich aroma of fine wine all narrated the unique allure of France, captivating all who visited. On July 13, just in time for France's National Day celebrations on July 14, Governor Li arrived in Paris and received a grand welcome. The following day, he visited the Élysée Palace to meet with President Félix IV, and their conversation was marked by warmth and mutual respect. That same day, he watched the Grand Bastille Day military parade and various celebrations. attending an evening banquet that gave him a deep sense of France's national pride and festive spirit. However, his meeting with French Foreign Minister Unearthed proved to be a challenge. Governor Li proposed the tax adjustment based on sterling plan, which sought to increase tariffs on French imports to the Qing Empire to balance trade. However, the French foreign minister took a hardline stance, imposing stringent conditions. And negotiations ultimately failed to yield a breakthrough. While the outcome was disappointing, Governor Li recognized a fundamental truth: strengthening China's national power was the key to achieving more favorable negotiations in the future. Sixth stop, Britain, the courtesy and reality of a gentleman's nation. Crossing the English Channel. Governor Li and his delegation arrived in Britain on August 2. Officially beginning their visit filled with British charm. Everything here exuded a strong aristocratic atmosphere. On the tidy streets, gentlemen dressed in exquisite suits and wearing top hats moved with elegance and composure, while ladies adorned in luxurious gowns displayed grace and nobility in every gesture. British humor was equally distinctive, whether in the witty remarks exchanged on the streets or the light-hearted banter shared over tea. It was always filled with intelligence and wit, often bringing an involuntary smile. On August 4, Governor Li met with British Prime Minister and Foreign Secretary Lord Salisbury, focusing on discussions regarding tariff increases. However, Britain maintained a firm stance, showing no intention of compromising on trade regulations. Confronted with this unwavering attitude, Governor Li could not help but sigh. The Qing dynasty still lacked sufficient influence at the international negotiating table. He realized that to change this reality, the only way forward was to enhance the nation's overall strength. Despite setbacks in tariff negotiations, the British still accorded Governor Li the highest level of reception. At Portsmouth Harbour, he observed a grand naval exercise and even received a 19-gun salute, a gesture of distinguished honor. During his visit to the shipyard, he showed great interest in Britain's advanced shipbuilding technology, further appreciating the formidable strength of Western naval powers. Later, he was granted an audience with Queen Victoria and was awarded the prestigious Grand Cross of the Order of the Bath. Additionally, he visited the Greenwich Observatory and the Submarine Cable Company, receiving a section of cable as a memento. At the telegraph office, he personally sent a telegram to the Shanghai Merchants Bureau and received a reply in just over 20 minutes. This unprecedented speed of communication astonished him, making him deeply aware of how modern technology was profoundly transforming the world. Seventh stop, the United States. On August 28, Li Hongzhang boarded the steamer St. Louis and slowly sailed into New York Harbor. Welcoming him was the pride of the U.S. Navy, the White Squadron. Warships were lined up in perfect formation as a 19-gun salute thundered through the sky. Inside the harbor, various vessels simultaneously sounded their whistles, as if speaking in their unique language to honor the distinguished guest from the East. Meanwhile, in New York's Chinatown, streets were already adorned with lanterns and banners, accompanied by the resounding beats of drums and the crackling of firecrackers. The festive atmosphere was akin to a grand New Year's celebration. The next day, President Grover Cleveland formally received Li Hongzhang at the White House. With due reverence, Li presented the official letters from Emperor Guangxu and Empress Dowager Cixi. Their discussions were amicable, yet despite the ceremonial courtesies, Li was fully aware that deep-seated tensions between the two nations remained unresolved. On August 30, Li and his entourage visited the tomb of the late U.S. President Ulysses S. Grant to pay their respects. There, he personally planted a small sapling, symbolizing Sino-American friendship, perhaps also carrying a faint hope for the future of the Qing dynasty. On September 9, at the invitation of the Chinese American Society, Li attended a rally condemning the Chinese Exclusion Act. As he listened intently to the speeches, his gaze grew complex. This discriminatory law had persisted for years, treating Chinese immigrants unfairly, yet the Qing government's protests had yielded little effect. He understood all too well, China's influence on the world stage was negligible, and changing the plight of Chinese people abroad was no easy task. During his visits to New York, Philadelphia, and other cities, the towering skyscrapers left him in awe. He marveled at the progress of Western architectural techniques but also sighed, such lofty buildings, if built in China, it would be nothing short of fantasy. Even if constructed, a single storm could bring them down. These words revealed his helplessness. The decline of the Qing dynasty was now impossible to conceal. Perhaps, in his heart, this once glorious empire was like a decaying old house, swaying precariously in the storm, on the verge of collapse. 8th stop, Canada. After concluding his visit to the United States, Li Hongzhang traveled to Canada. Unusually, he deliberately avoided the western regions of the U.S. A clear expression of his dissatisfaction with the Chinese Exclusion Act. To the media, however, he offered the excuse that Vancouver is closer to the Qing Empire, making the return journey more convenient. On September 14, Li boarded a luxurious steamship operated by the Pacific Mail Steamship Company, embarking on his journey home. Throughout the trip, he remained silent, his brows furrowed, as if lost in deep contemplation. Li Hongzhang had witnessed the strength of the Western world, and he became even more acutely aware of the Qing Empire's decline. The corruption of the government, the rigidity of the bureaucratic system, the numbness of the people, all of it weighed on him like an unbearable mountain, making it hard to breathe. Perhaps he had already foreseen that the Qing dynasty was on an irreversible path to collapse, and that, in the end, he was merely a fleeting passerby in the great tide of history. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.